Hi, my name's Justin Brooks. I'm a filmmaker and DOP, and today we're going to take this, turn it into this, to make this.
Soft light falls on quiet sand. You almost leaned in. Shadows move, skin to skin. Something unspoken. Will you let me in? We'll always have that one night. Come morning light, we'll always have that sunrise. We'll always have that sunrise. Daybreak, shadows fade. You step back, I step away. Nothing's broken, nothing new.
Hi, thanks so much for stopping by. I have always been a huge fan of film and the film look. I remember ages ago watching one of my favorite stills photography channels, Grainy Days, and I heard something that really stuck with me for a long time. I'm going to paraphrase, but that is essentially, digital is the real world. Digital is the world as we see it. And film is the world as we remember it. Film is a memory, and I could not agree more. Film is imperfect, it's scattered, its colors shift. It is a memory. Digital is just, it's so real, it's so cold, it feels unimportant, it feels a little disposable. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of digital photos in our phone, and they just get forgotten. Whereas film is this warm, physical manifestation of nostalgia. That's why when I got called up by producers Zach Bagans and Mike Dorsey to shoot their series doc, Hunting Bundy, I had to ask, guys, what if we shoot this on film? So after talking about the enormous impracticalities of using film for an entire doc series, we did come to a really great creative idea, and that was to use film to show the terrible POV of our lead character, Ted Bundy. And that's when film became the Bundy Cam. Since so much of this story happens between the 70s and the 80s, our use of 8mm in this film became the bridge between what was the interview shots, which were entirely shot digitally, and then the archival footage, which mostly was shot on old 16mm newsreels or Super 8mm home video. And that's how this little guy became our C-Cam. The problem with film is it gets real expensive really quick. If that's not tough enough, there's also the issue of unpredictability. See, most of these cameras are well over 50 years old, and with that age comes some issues.
I went home thinking the cartridge had been exposed, and I pulled it out, and the cartridge was broken, and nothing was rolling all day.
That's why, even though we were shooting 8mm film for Hunting Bundy, I always had a digital backup. I would reshoot every scene digitally to make sure we absolutely had something in the can. Luckily, we actually didn't have to use any of that footage, and this little guy did its job. But I still absolutely needed that digital backup, so I had to go out and do the research. Can I make this digital footage look like true Super 8mm film? That's when I came across Dehancer. Now, full disclosure, Dehancer actually did reach out to me to partner on a video. And they offered me a bunch of free software and all that good stuff. And that's when I got to tell Dehancer, Guys, I've been using you for years and I own everything you've released already. But to be honest, I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, and that email was just the kick in the pants that I needed to actually make it. See, I'm actually excited to give back to the community that gave me all the information when I needed to make digital film. So here we go, we're gonna make digital footage, Super 8mm film. Now, you have to understand, to get started, making Super 8 footage is more than just a plug-in. It's actually about the camera you choose to shoot on. You can't just grab any old camera and make it look exactly like Super 8 footage. I mean, it'll get close. It'll get close enough that most people probably won't be able to tell, but if you're really focused on getting it right, then you need to think about how Super 8 footage is shot and how the cameras work. But today, we're really going for authenticity. So all we need is this. Well, this and a computer. But, I mean, wait until later in the video and I'll even show you how you can avoid the computer part of that equation and do it entirely within your phone. When thinking about Super 8 footage, we need to think about the film itself and the camera. Super 8 film is super small. This is a Super 8 cartridge. And that tiny little opening there, that's where the film frame meets the camera gate. With a frame size this small, it comes with certain attributes. One, due to the grain in the film, it's got a wonderful softness to it. It's not overly sharp. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's low res, but it has this softness to it. And second, with a small frame size, you get that deep, deep focus. Much like sensor size in cameras, the smaller the sensor, the deeper the focus, the larger sensor, the shallower the focus. Well, film works very similarly. The small size of the Super 8 frame gives you a super deep focus. So when we are looking for digital cameras to meet the physical attributes of Super 8mm film, we're looking for cameras with a super small sensor. Now, I have the iPhone 17 Pro, and that sensor size is actually a little larger than Super 8mm film. It's actually closer to 16mm film. So if you wanted to use the iPhone 17 to shoot fake Super 16, it'd be even better. But the sensor size is still small enough to give us that deep focus we're looking for. And this new phone actually has open gate, which is going to get us even closer to the 4:3 aspect ratio of Super 8mm film. Now, to use that open gate mode on the iPhone, we're not going to be able to use the iPhone's native camera app, but rather we're going to use one of my favorites, Blackmagic Camera. Now, one thing we do need to remember about film is it only comes in two color temperatures, that is daylight and tungsten. So you're going to want to shoot in one of those two modes, whichever makes sense to you. It's also best to take image stabilization off of whatever camera you're shooting with. See, Super 8 cameras didn't have image stabilization. They were shaky, they were handheld, and that's part of the fun and nostalgia of the look. Remember, we are going for authenticity here. Another great attribute of Super 8mm footage is that long zoom throw. Due to that small sensor, it provided a ton of room for the lenses to zoom, and you'd see those snap zooms in and out all the time on old Super 8mm footage. Now, because of the way the iPhone works, it steps between its lenses when zooming in and out, and we don't want to get those steps in our footage, so we're going to save all the zooming for post-production to get that real authentic look. But first things first, let's go get some footage. So I'm out here in the absolute freezing cold with my wife, who is now currently in the car trying to stay warm. She's going to help me run around today and get some footage with this big beast. Now, normally you don't actually need a B-strip and all this stuff to do this Super 8 footage on the iPhone, but I, of course, am recording the screen and the whole kind of snorri cam. Anyway, I've got a whole bunch of stuff here that's going to help me show you guys exactly how I'm using this gear.
Good.
Kind of walk around the, look at the space a little. Okay, so now that I've sufficiently frozen my ass off and tortured my wife, I did want to say you don't need to use that beast of a camera rig that I'm using in the video. In fact,
this is usually all I go out with to film with my iPhone. I was just filming for the YouTube video. You don't need a B script and all that crazy stuff. You could just go out with a little tripod, an iPhone rig, and get the same result. But now that we're warm and back inside, let's go edit some footage. All right, so I'm already here in Resolve, and I have done a little bit of work. I've used a color space transform node to put it into Rec. 709 color space, because that's the color space I'm going to be working in. You don't have to use Rec. 709. The great thing is here in the source dropdown, there's a ton of other color spaces along with camera choices. They are updating their cameras in this all the time. You can choose from all the main camera sources: ARRI, Blackmagic, Canon, Fujifilm, Sony, of course. All the stuff is there. You choose what you're shooting in. Choose accordingly. I am going to be in the Rec. 709 color space because that's what I chose. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to do is actually choose the film that we're going to be emulating, and I am going to go with a Vision 3 500T. Why? Because I love the look of that film. It's got a warmth to it. It's a really great film. We're going to enable that. Boom. All right. So this is the very start. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the list and just start enabling a lot of the presets that they built, because honestly the team behind this really did their work and actually emulated these films so beautifully that there's not a lot we have to go off of the initial preset of the 8mm film to make it ours. It's really just kind of up to you and up to your tastes. The one thing that I mess with the most is halation and grain, but we're going to try to keep it a little simpler, a little more to a real Super 8 look here. And we're going to start going down, enabling all our presets. Developer, compression. We are going to choose our film print. Going to go with a very, very well-known 2383 Kodak print. That's what almost everything is printed on these days. And here you see we start having all our presets. Now I'm going to go with an ISO of 500 because I want a ton of grain. Super 8 halation, all this stuff. Bloom, that's going to see your highlights really bloom out. Film damage, that's pretty self-explanatory. Film breath is actually, the colors slightly shift in film every once in a while, very slightly. And then gate weave is obviously the movement of the film within the gate, so it gives film just a little bit of jitter depending on the camera that it was shot on. Super 8 has quite a bit of gate weave, so you see that jitter quite a bit. That's a kind of quintessential look of Super 8. Now we're going to stop at overscan because that's kind of our big secret sauce at the end. We're going to go back and start kind of dialing these things into taste. Now the first thing that I want to do is change my actual white balance a little bit. The color temperature, I want to warm up here just a touch. And I'm going to bring in that tint compensation. Great. All right. Now, the next thing that I really like doing is I like getting into my shadows and my highlights, for sure. So there, we're going to go to our black point and our white point. All that is basically, again, shadows, highlights, really choosing where those live in the waveform. So I'm going to bring those, I like some kind of darker, inky shadows. My white point feels pretty good. Oftentimes I'll bring my white point down just a touch to match that dynamic range of actual film. Now, it's already looking pretty great. I really dig the feel of it. We're starting to see everything come together. Obviously, it's not the film look yet, but we're gonna kind of bring that on in the end. The one thing, like I said, I play with quite a bit is the film grain and the halation. Now the halation, you can bring it into mask mode and take a look at where that affects your image. Right now, not super strong. You can kind of see the red highlight, and that's what that halation is. Halation is where the reds of the film are actually bouncing off of the back of the camera back onto the film, really kind of bleeding where the highlights meet the lowlights in your film. So you can see that just a touch. I'll turn it on and off. See that red kind of warmth. Bloom I'm pretty happy with. Grain I would like to see. Let's pump that up just a touch and really dirty this up. Yeah, really heavy grain for sure. And you can see that film damage already. Those little specks, hairs, all this is coming together really nicely. Now it already looks great, but I have a note on here kind of grayed out that, and I do this all the time, this is one thing that I wish you add a little more control in Dehancer, but it's fine because it's in Resolve. It's in almost any coloring program, so it's not a big deal. And that is a kind of a defocus node, because you don't really know kind of like the sharpness of the image that's coming into this app. So you sometimes want to kind of kill that sharpness a little bit, because Super 8 footage especially is, I mean, low res isn't the word, but it's definitely not as sharp and crisp as, you know, the digital sensors of today. So I'll turn that on, and you can see that just defocuses us just a touch. I don't go nuts. I just wanted to give it just a touch of defocus. You can see it right here, just there, just above that sharpness here, 0.55 on everything. That gets us kind of closer to our Super 8 look. Now, I really dig this. I like where we are with the contrast. I like where we are with the focus and just a little bit of softness here. And that's when we get to bring in our overscan. That's going to be where you suddenly see that Super 8 look. And that is the scan of the actual film frame. Again, we're going to go to our 8mm preset and enable, and boom, you're going to see it. There it is. Now this does something that none of your overlays are going to do, and this is a dead giveaway of fake film, and that is this perforation right here. This is an actual perforation in film, meaning there is no film there. So there's no way to expose anything over that perforation. Every single time I see an overlay where you can see the image go over the perforation, you know immediately that's fake. That's just digital, and it's done poorly. I love the fact that when they turn their image into this scan mode, the overscan, the perforation is there. You can even choose whether to make it negative film or a positive. If you go into the positive, instead of it being black, that's the white. That's basically the light that the film is scanned over. This is great. This is such an amazing, like, it's little, but it sells it. It sells it as actual film, and I see people do this poorly all the time. I love the negative look though. We're gonna go back to that negative because I love seeing that light bleed just dance around the perforation. So cool. Now, again, this is an overscan, meaning you actually see a little touch of the film frame above and below. That is exactly like actual Super 8 footage. As you can see right here, this is real Super 8 scanned, and you can see right there, that's that perforation, that's that overscan. It's great, love it. So there we are, we've got our 8mm look, and this is so fantastic. Everything goes, even the film breath and the the dirt and scratches goes over the actual film. It's just, everything looks so real. This is perfect, done so well. Now, if we want to go in and really start griming things up, you can bring in a vignette. A lot of old lenses would vignette, and this is currently in mask mode. This is where we want to see kind of the size of the vignette, play with that feather, and there we go. And that's on, off, on, off. So there we are. That is our 8mm frame. Again, the only thing that I had to do outside of the actual plugin is I brought in some defocus just to soften that digital edge, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And again, so many of these presets are already going to get you so close to the actual 8mm look. They are done so scientifically and so brilliantly. They look fantastic. And yeah, I love it. So hope you dig that. Now, one of the great things about recreating Super 8mm footage or Super 16mm footage is you can use any number of great, cheap, small sensor cameras to get a really great result. You don't have to use an iPhone, but any small chip sensor camera is going to be able to do the job. You could even use like an Osmo Action or a GoPro. And it's actually pretty cool that a lot of the newer action cameras also shoot open gate. So again, we're going to get even closer to that 4:3 aspect ratio we're looking for. But there's so many different ways to play with Dehancer and get different film looks. In fact, sometimes when I'm not even going for a full film look, I'll use Dehancer just to quickly color correct my footage. The controls are simple, they're easy to learn, and they're really effective. Now, remember how I said that I could tell you how you could do all of this without a computer? I mean, it's no surprise, but Dehancer actually has a pretty amazing smartphone app as well. And I use it all the time when I'm posting to Instagram or even just sending footage to family and friends. You can go into the app. There's a ton of film emulations. There's a ton of control. I love playing with the halation control. I am a sucker for a ton of halation. It's one of my favorite things, and it probably pushes everything I release way outside of looking authentically film, but it's just, you know, it's a creative taste. But it's a great app, it works really well, and it's an easy way to just pull footage off your phone if you're just going to socials and make something look really authentic and really creative. Now, if you want to get a hold of any of the Dehancer plugins or apps yourself and play with all these amazing film emulations, please do click the link down below, and you can use my promo code JBrooksFilm to get 10% off at checkout. When I was going into that deep dive to try to truly emulate film with digital footage, I really wanted to get into the history of the cameras and really understand the physical attributes of the cameras that they were shooting with. Now, if you, like me, are trying for the Super 8 film look, I've actually provided a link right here where you can go and check out a Super 8 film that I shot ages ago. It's just a fun vacation video, but it was actually shot on Super 8. It was shot Kodak Vision 3, and you can really pay attention to the attributes of that film and make sure you're bringing that into your emulation. Thank you so much for stopping by. I can't appreciate it more. I do appreciate your time. And if you want to keep on talking all things film and filmmaking, please do like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Now, if you end up using this and making your own fake Super 8, please come back and post it in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys are working on. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.